K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
All right, folks, well up right now. Starting next is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We are live right now in beautiful downtown Oklahoma City on K98Talk.com, our home internet station. We are also being simulcast and broadcast live worldwide, coast to coast, through several different affiliates, some of which I'm going to name now to make my life easier and yours. Coming soon, there is an America Off the Rails website that will be being put together over the next few weeks so that I don't have to keep burning so much showtime giving out love to all of the affiliates, and you can see them everywhere that they are, because we are adding more and more every day. Of course, so let's start in the order they were added. Of course, the Spark Radio Network, the network that I've built, K98Talk.com, also the mirrorsite.org, the station that I am general manager of, and was our second add-on. Then we have AMFM247.com, where this show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 Eastern. Then we have SHR Media, where the show can be heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 in the morning Eastern. Then we also have added after that Leading Edge Radio Network, where the show can be heard every Monday through Friday at 7 Central, so 8 Eastern in the morning. Then, of course, we have Red State Talk Radio, where the show can be heard every Sunday morning at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Rebooting Liberty, the newest internet-based affiliate that we have added, airs the show daily. I'm not sure on the schedule over there quite yet. Then, of course, we have High Point Radio out of New Jersey, and our terrestrial flagship station, WNJC 1360 AM, where this show can be heard every Thursday in the afternoon at 2 Eastern. So at this point, just to give you guys a little bit of better idea what's coming up today, I have Patrick Fornari on, who will be joining me as soon as we officially start the show here in just a couple minutes. We're going to be talking post-debate wrap-up from FNB, maybe a little, or Fox Business News, maybe a little bit about the CNBC debate, because he and I hadn't talked for a while. Also going to give him a chance to plug any recent articles that he has, and in case you are listening for the first time, he is also an author. We will have him discuss his recent book that he's talked about several times now that he's been on with us for a while. But at this point, we are going to take a really quick break, pay a couple of bills, and be back with Patrick here in just a couple minutes. Do not go away. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome to
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, this is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and again, as promised, now that the show has officially started, I am joined this evening by Patrick Fornari, author of Commoner Sense. Good evening, Patrick. How are you? It's been forever since we've talked, sir.
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderfully, actually. We've recently closed on the new house, so getting the new studio put together. I am kind of working in I guess you could say a temporary studio while I get the other one put together, but this one is actually working out fairly nicely. So all in all, things are going pretty well over here, and as you heard at the beginning of the show, the list of places that are carrying me continues to grow, so I'm always really stoked about that. But yeah, so it's been a long time since we've talked. We used to, or for a while, we kind of had a pattern coming on where you were the guy that I would have on right around the debate time, so I thought maybe it would be a good idea to kind of keep that going. We missed one. I would have loved to have been able to have you on after the CNBC debate, because I can just imagine from the blowback that I saw on social media how angry you probably were over that one. So we may actually start there, if you don't mind. With that CNBC debate, I know you're out of the country, so I'm not sure how quickly you were able to see it, but I'm sure by now you're at least abreast of what happened there. So let's do a little bit of a compare and contrast, if you don't mind, between the CNBC debate and the one that just occurred last night. What are your thoughts?
Night and day. I did see both of them. The CNBC debate, that was partisan liberalism, media bias on display. They didn't do their network or their moderators any good with that one at all. And I think Fox learned a pretty good lesson out of that. They played it straight last night. I didn't think I was going to be able to get it because I don't get that particular station down here on the island, but I was able to view it on the internet live, and they really did do a good job. I know some people think that it was dry, but economics and the problems that we have now are very serious, and it can't all be a three-ring circus. There was some serious discussion last night, and quite frankly, I welcomed it.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, and you're not the first person that's mentioned that. I've actually talked to a few people about that today, and I keep hearing the same thing, is, well, this debate was boring. And I'm like, it's about time we had a boring debate. Debates are not supposed to be pay-per-view matches. That's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to put the candidates in front of the viewers or the listeners, depending on how you're watching or listening to them, and get questions answered and get honest and open answers about those questions. This was the closest thing that I think I have seen to an actual debate as it was intended, in reference to the one from last night, in a very long time. But yeah, I mean, we did like a whole hour and a half post-debate wrap-up show last night, and that was the same thing that kept coming up over and over and over again. And so many people were like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I'm like, how could you be bored? They're finally getting to answer the questions that all of you were telling us that you want to hear, and now you're mad because they're not going after them. And it seems like the American people are so dichotomic when it comes to that type of stuff, because they don't want the tables, ladders, and chair matches when it comes to politics, but then when they don't have them, they're mad because they're not there. It's really confusing to me.
Well, when you say, the American people, obviously we're talking a lot of individuals, a lot of different groups, and if you really understand and care about what is happening in the country, then your attention was fixed on what the Republicans were saying. There was a lot of good ideas flying around and a lot of good debate. I mean, for gosh sakes, Rick, that first debate, a lot of headlines came out of it about Hillary Clinton and all that stuff. It was all ridiculous, and it was all worthless. It was all nonsense. Because the biggest headline really was, Rick, that we were getting offered the option of socialism, or should we continue with our constitutional representative republic. Now, I'm pretty sure that's fairly unprecedented, at least in modern times, certainly on television, to have that come down as basically the main message of that Democrat debate. I mean, to me, it was quite astounding that that's even what the conversation was about.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face it, the Democratic debate was probably one of the scariest things that I've ever seen in a long time anyway, because the party of diversity was a bunch of old, white, ancient people that were mad at the world. It was kind of scary all the way around. But you're right. The message and the tone of that debate were just completely insane. You have Grandma Clinton basically trying to tell everybody that she knows what's best, and you have Bernie Sanders telling everybody that he's gonna give away everything in the country to anybody else that wants it other than the rich people. And that was basically the entire message. And I think last night was the first time that we saw a shot at candidates actually being able to give alternatives to those messages in the Democratic debate. The one that honestly surprised me, to kind of get into a little bit of the meat of it, was Kasich. I think he's on the wrong stage. I think he should have tried to run as a Democrat, from everything that I heard him say last night. But that's just me.
Well, it's not just you. He was on TV tonight. I wasn't going to watch the interview with him. I'm like, I've heard enough of that guy. And I thought, well, I'll watch it. Let's see what his defense was. And it was just as weak as his debate performance. Personally, I'm sure he's a great guy, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But personally, I don't want him anywhere near the White House. I can do without him and a couple of the other candidates. I'm glad that it got whittled down to 8 for that debate last night. You could see where the format and the time actually kind of did pay off, where some full thoughts and ideas and policies were actually formed. But I'm really not interested in Kasich at all. I think maybe his time has passed to a certain degree. If they like him in Ohio, hey, great, keep him.
Yeah, I think the rest of the country pretty much agrees with you when it comes to Kasich. I think one of the other ones that's really been a surprise to me lately, and not necessarily in a good way, is Dr. Ben Carson. Now, like him or hate him, there have been some interesting things that have come out about his biography possibly being embellished. And hey, I'm not gonna lie. I grew up in an era where you sat around and you told stories with your friends as you were a kid. And each time you told a fishing story, the fish got 10 times bigger. So, I mean, I understand the concept of embellishment, but not when it comes to the point where you're putting yourself in the limelight like this guy was doing. And I don't know if he did it or he didn't. But one of the things, and this is one of the few times I will give Trump credit, because, again, I'm not sure where I stand with him. But one of the things that he pointed out is it seems like an odd commentary on our country when the fact that you may have actually tried to stab someone in your childhood actually helps with your presidential poll ratings, rather than the fact that it coming out that you might have embellished the story. I don't know. To me, that just kind of summarizes the entirety of everything that I've been talking about for a long time. This whole concept seems like it's been completely turned on its head, and I think last night was the first chance anybody'd had to actually see politics the way it actually ought to be instead of this ratings grab game. So I was really happy to see a lot of what I saw. I was pleased with a lot of the answers. I even have to give Trump a little bit of credit here and there for the times that he was actually able to put together a couple of cogent thoughts. I still don't necessarily believe his idea that we're going to be able to get the Mexicans to pay for the wall, but, I mean, it's like I've told everybody before. No, he will not get my vote in the primary. But if he makes it to the general, I don't have a choice, because anybody, even Trump, would be better than whoever they're going to put up on the other side. And it's not just that. At this point, if I don't pull the lever for Trump, then I'm no better than all the people that I was railing against in 2012 that chose not to vote for Romney. And I can't be that guy, because I've been the one telling everybody since that election, if you guys would have just gone and done what we knew we needed to do, we could have had a completely different scenario, and there's no way I can be that guy. And trust me, I get flack all the time because I have all these people that are supposedly more diehard conservatives than me that are like, I can't believe that you, as a conservative, will vote for Trump if it comes down to it. Like, I would vote for a ham sandwich over Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. I don't care. But if I write in ham sandwich, all I'm really doing is voting for either Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton. So yes, I'm going to vote for the guy on my side of the ticket, even if I'm not quite sure he belongs on my side of the ticket.
Well, I wrote an article back in July. Actually, you interviewed me about it, Pure of Heart, and that was my point. I said at the time, I want to be the president of the Pure of Heart Club. I want to just be able to rely on my conservative principles and not vote for the guy that's not perfect. Well, we're not going to get a perfect candidate. And the least of Trump's problems logistically, if he was elected president, is getting Mexico to actually fund the wall. I think that people have a misconception about that, about how that's done and the mechanics of it. Actually, that would be probably quite easy. They're not going to be writing us a check as with a deposit as we complete a little work, pay us, and then when we're done, pay us off in the end. It's not going to be done like that. We give them hundreds of millions of dollars in aid. We do have a trade deficit with them. Just cutting off the aid alone would be enough to get the footers started, believe me. And so there are ways to do that. I think that actually logistically is the least of would be the least of his problems. As far as his deportation stance or his immigration stance goes, Trump is going to dance with the one that brung him, and that is the immigration issue. He is not going to back down, and I think even he knows that what he's talking about would be very difficult logistically, financially, politically, legally to do what he's talking about. But he needs to have that threat out there for two reasons. One, it separates him from the rest of the herd to a degree, and he can secure some of the base voters that did not come out and vote for Mitt Romney, as you were saying earlier. So he's going to ride that horse as far as he can take it. And believe me, if he starts, we don't need an immigration squad, deportation squad. We already have one. It's called ICE. And if he gets in there and he starts with the gang members and single young men that have no ties to America, and those deportations go up, and Americans see that he's making progress, or that if he does something, and see, he's not giving us his whole plan because he doesn't want everybody else to jump on it. What he's going to do is he's going to set up some deportation centers, probably in concert with the Mexican government, that are clean and adequate to house people in. He's going to put them across the border. He's going to figure out who they are. Okay, he's not going to separate families forever. He might even take whole families. Then he is literally going to vet them and bring them back across the border legally. Okay, and I know that sounds impossible, but actually nothing is. Building the wall isn't impossible, and doing that isn't impossible. But he needs a threat because he knows he can also slow immigration to the country by putting the threat out there and increasing at least a stance, an image that we've ramped up deportation if he's actually president, and he would put some stronger policies in place, just basically enforce the laws that we have now.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I was going to bring up, and you kind of beat me to the punch, but that's okay. I'm wondering if, like you said, right now he's kind of doing the broad strokes things, but let's be honest, with his immigration plan, even if he just tackles one of those segments that you were talking about and starts there, the fact that he would actually probably take the handcuffs back off of ICE, so to speak, because Obama hasn't been letting them do their job. Probably do something to bring better technology into the foray when we're talking about revamping our immigration and naturalization systems. I mean, there are so many different things that he could possibly do. And that's kind of been the little thought that's been tickling in the back of my mind for the last few days when I hear all the people that are like, look, we're glad that he's saying these type of things, and we understand that he may not be able to do all of it, but the simple fact of the matter is at least we're pretty sure he's going to try to do something, which is better than what we've had going on before. But this is my problem with all of it, and it's the same thing that I keep coming back to, and it's the little nagging voice in me that will not let it go away. The simple fact of the matter is both sides want the illegal immigration problem to be the problem that it is for a multitude of reasons, and they're different for each side. So I really don't know of any way that we could clean this up, because there's so much that the entrenched folks in Washington have their hearts set on this, and I just don't see any way that one person could clean it all up. But I really hope, if he gets the shot, that he at least gives it an attempt. But I don't know. I don't see it happening because the Republicans and the Democrats both want it, but for different reasons. And that's one of the things that's had me secretly worried this entire time, is it doesn't really matter how loudly you yell about immigration, because the simple fact of the matter is there have been much, much more noble people than Donald Trump that have gone into D.C. for the best of reasons and come out completely maimed, deformed, and disfigured spiritually and emotionally, John McCain being one of them. When he went into D.C., he went in for all the right reasons, but he's been in there so long now that he's basically become part of the machine. And it seems like that's happening a lot faster than it used to, too. There used to be at least a couple of good years in there where they put up a fight. Now it's just like, oh, money? Sure. Never mind. I forgot. What did I come here to do again? Maybe I'm just old and bitter now. Who knows?
Well, Rick, you have good reason to be pessimistic, since we've been talking about this issue very intensely for 3 or 4 decades. Now, But let me do what I do with you a lot, Rick. Let's just take a step back and look at the big picture, and let's not concentrate on what little policy or what action someone will do. Let's look at the big picture here. First of all, I heard someone on TV the other night say that the paradigm had shifted, the formula had changed, Donald Trump changed it, blah, blah, blah. This is a new era. Okay, that may be true, it may not be true. But if he did, and I think he did change it, and I started thinking, well, what was the moment? If I had to say, what was the moment that it all changed? Well, it was when he announced, and he said in a very inartful way, his reference to illegal immigrants, when he announced the Trump Tower and how it got taken in the news and everything like that. Right then, he changed everything. And what he did was, whether wittingly or not, he involved, because, the elitist pundits in D.C. and New York are quite astounded that the American people might actually have something to do with this election. And he involved the American people at that point. And you have a population of a lot of Americans that have the perception, whether it's true or not, Rick, they have the perception that somehow illegal immigrants in the United States have a higher status and, to some degree, a protected status as opposed to a citizen born in the U.S. In other words, they don't see themselves getting away with as many multiple offenses or crimes or anything else as a U.S. citizen. They'd be jailed. But the illegal does get away with it. And I know a little bit about this, Rick, because I probably am the only person that you do interviews with that has had to stand in front of immigration officers in foreign countries that I've lived with two or three officers standing there with my papers in their hand, deciding whether or not I was going to continue on my way that day or whether I was going to be driven to the airport and sequestered and put on the next flight. I really doubt that you have any people that you interview other than me that have been through that. And I have been through that because I've been out of the country for 20 years. I know what it's like. I've also lived in non-white or largely black or African populations in some places that I've lived that might be as high as 98%, and where I'm in the minority. So I've also experienced how, when you live in a society like that, how racism can work directly towards you. So as much as I understand this stuff, what the media doesn't understand is how the individual American feels. And you're seeing a big shift here, Rick, whether we're all kind of aware of it or not. So your pessimism is justified, but you might see some different things happen here that we are now ready for, quite frankly, as a people in the country.
All right, so let's just have a little bit of fun for a second, then we've got to take a break, and then when we come back, I'll let you decide what you want to do with the last half of the show. You are the guest, after all. So let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that it is January 2017, and President Trump has just been sworn in. What is one of the first things that you hope that he's going to do?
Well, I hope that, because I hear a lot of talk out of him. Trump isn't the most conservative person in the race. He's not going to be a transformational president so much as a transitional one. And I think we need a bit of a transition. We need to concentrate on the economy and finances. And what I would hope would lead to smaller government is actually going through programs and cutting waste where he sees it, cutting redundancy where he sees it, and reallocating money to where I think he thinks it should go. Some of it is in social programs. I'm not thrilled with all that, but I see where some of the things he wants to do would be helpful to the country as a whole, and a lot of it is to the military. And just as when the Roman Empire existed or Great Britain ruled the world for 500 years, we're in a period now of Pax Americana, where it's peace because of America's strength, to a degree. If you think the world is screwed up now, weaken America just a little bit more and see how off the chain things really go. And I don't want that to happen. So I would hope that he strengthens the military and the economy.
You know, you bring up a good point because, and this is one of those times when I really, really wish I wasn't right, because for the last about 2, maybe 3 years, since I've been doing this, because I do a multitude of shows, not just America Off the Rails. I do some on other networks. I do one with a liberal co-host, and on that show particularly, I've been telling people for the last 3 years that as we see America pulling back from the world states, nature abhors a vacuum, and somebody's going to step in and start trying to fill in the places that we're leaving behind. And now we're seeing it happen right in front of our eyes. We've got folks from China that are visiting Israel on a regular basis, trying to tell them, hey, you know, maybe America's not the ally that you thought they were. Now we have Putin, the guy that basically cut his teeth during the reign of the KGB, basically now re-envisioning the rebirth of the Soviet Empire through Russia. It's all because we've all of a sudden decided that we don't want to be the world police. I have to admit, I never really wanted us to be the world police either, but that decision was made well before I was born. And unfortunately, once the die is cast, so to speak, you're either in or you're out. And unfortunately, I think we've lost our stomach for it, and now the rest of the world is starting to slowly pay the consequences for it.
Well, it's human nature, and the unfortunate thing about what you're saying, I agree with you. I've had my views have changed on it a little bit too. No unnecessary foreign entanglements, but the fact of the matter is that we keep the trade lanes, the sea lanes open. If America is successful, the world is successful. But now we're to a point where the normal decisions you would make on foreign policy, okay, things that make sense. That's why when you listen to these debates and you go, well, yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I kind of agree with that. And it's on two sides of that same issue, and you're going, It's because Barack Obama has got us into a position where the conventional solutions for what might help with our current foreign policy situation and with all the turmoil in the world aren't going to work anymore because it's all too late. We're talking about decisions that should have been made 2, 3, 4 years ago. The decisions weren't made, and now basically, Rick, the horse is out of the barn, and now you have to go chase them down. When it would have been much easier just to keep the gate shut on the corral outside. We haven't done it, and you know what? No matter who gets in there, these problems, Europe, the Mideast, you're going to see more stuff in Central and South America, China, Asia, Africa. These problems are now so tremendous, and Obama has us so screwed up that we're going to have a reactionary foreign policy, whether anybody likes it or not, and we're going to need an extremely strong military for that.
I completely agree. All right, folks, we have hit the bottom of the hour. I am here with Patrick Fornari, author of Commodore Sense. For the first half, we've been talking post-debate, wrap-up, and more. When we come back, right here on K98 Talk, the Spark Radio Network, and WNJC 1360 AM, we will probably change gears and give Patrick much of the last half of the show as he wants to talk about his book and any other recent articles that he's written. But at this point, we do have to take another really quick break, pay some bills. We'll be right back here in just a few minutes.
A show that will change internet radio as you know it.
Okay, so let's talk about the story, which I think is hilarious. I'm just going to refer to it as the poop plane, because, like, what else are you going to call it? But there was this plane, okay? It took off. It's the British Airways. They were going to Dubai. I have a hard time pronouncing that one.
It was British Airways? It wasn't jet. It wasn't jet poo?
It was.
Couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
I like it. This story, if we've ever had a story that is up our alley, it's this one. It's bathroom humor up from front to back of the airplane, apparently. They had to turn around to go back to Heathrow because they said the smelly poo in the toilet became unbearable for passengers, and it was so bad. They decided it's so bad that they had to turn around and go back rather than continue their flight. They decided that there wasn't enough Febreze, there wasn't enough anything to handle this.
Maybe they should see a doctor. Is there a GoFundMe for this guy?
It must be a woman, because a woman's going to be mortified and embarrassed. If this is a guy, you know that he's like out there on Twitter and everything else saying, dude, I took down an airplane with how bad that I laid it down.
There wasn't a
Not
woman
girls,
who
girls.
flew on jet poo. She ate so many burritos she didn't know what to do.
So we turned the plane around because they made a big stink. We've just made it into a haiku at the end, but there had to be something.
Real Serious Nonsense, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, now on K98 Talk.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost, for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Are you conservative in a world of liberal?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not alone. Hey, I'm Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, and I'd like to invite you to tune in each Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, where I'll break down the events of the week, and together we'll learn about how they affect you. So, sit back and get ready for the good, the bad, and the ugly of talk radio right here on K98 Talk.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. We're into the second half of the show already. My, oh my, where does the time go? So, as promised, guest rules. When I have a guest on the air, they get to pick what we do at the top and the bottom of the hour. Patrick has some articles he's written recently. I know he wanted to discuss those. So, the remainder of the show is, of course, yours, sir. Take us in any direction you want to go.
Thanks, Rick. Well, I have two that are you can find at Magic City Morning Star. You just go to magiccitynews.com, and it'll take you right to their front page. If you don't see my articles right on the front page, there's a search box there. You can put in fantasy or reality, or another one that I wrote around Halloween called Trick or Treat that had a little bit to do with Hillary Clinton's Benghazi testimony. But fantasy or reality very much kind of parallels the message and the theme of my book, Commoner Sense, Working Person's Guide to America. You get that on Amazon. Anyhow, basically, I wonder about this slow push, 110-year push in the article towards that European brand of socialism, and that, Barack Obama was kind of the accumulation of that effort. And as we've discussed before, and as I mentioned in Commoner Sense, the only really new thing on the arc of history is the founding of the U.S. I mean, I know there's the Magna Carta and there's other things that are certainly worthwhile events. There was revolutions in England, reformations in England, stuff like that. I'm aware of all that stuff. But the really big thing is us. We're the only different thing. And we have this progressive movement that I always call the regressive movement, because they rely on these ancient ideas to base most of their philosophy off of. And we're kind of being offered this socialism or constitutional republic thing now. We're only keeping up the appearance of a republic. It's very much like what happened in Rome when it began to fall. Everybody always thinks, well, the Huns came in or this or that and they conquered Rome. Well, Rome really kind of did itself in, and it made itself vulnerable to being taken. And they started giving away cooking oil and bread and everything. They finally devalued their money to the point where it was almost worthless. But they kept the Senate, and they kept up the appearance of having a republic. And I'm afraid that we're kind of slipping that direction, Rick.
I'm not only afraid of it, I'm absolutely convinced that we're pretty much already there. It's actually one of the things that I've, again, talked about several times for the last several years, is if you, and maybe it's from being a conservative, because I've always been a history buff. One of the if you really start and you look at the parallels between what's going on in our nation right now and what happened towards the end of the Roman Empire, we're pretty much already there. We have the media now acting as a distraction. Basically, you can equate the media and modern day television to the Roman Colosseums. The Roman Empire had a practice towards the end called bread and circuses, because people were so distracted and afraid of everything that was going on that the empire just started having basically nonstop parties in their Colosseums, where they had the gladiator attractions and everything else that was going on, and it basically just served as a distraction. The Roman citizenry were partying as their nation fell, and the parallels, if you really stop and look at them, not only are they astounding, they're absolutely terrifying, and it's like almost nobody notices.
Well, and as you well know, the events at the Colosseum got more gruesome and more grotesque as time went along, because they had to feed that need for that type of entertainment. That's certainly analogous to what we're seeing in our own media today. And, the idea that we can't have a strong military and strong economy has become a political football, that we somehow can't do both at the same time. Well, they ran into that question too. And of course, as their empire dwindled and their army became weaker, that's when they became very vulnerable. And, right now, I'm not into the whole compromise thing. When I hear politicians talking about that, it really turns me off. I mean, not even to the point of being like a Reagan 80-20 guy. Reagan's gone. That era is gone. He's got about 10 or 12 speeches out there that capsulize the meaning of America so well that they're really wonderful to listen to. But that time has passed. Right now, if we don't, as the American electorate, to people that are actually paying attention to what's going on in the country and, might actually vote, if we don't understand that this is an us and them proposition, then we're really doomed, because what we call the center of American politics has been moving to the left since the ink began to dry on our original Constitution. And we now basically operate all the way in leftist territory. We're not in a position, or the center of American politics isn't in the position where you can say left or right. The center has shifted. So we're just kind of all the way to the left. And until we get back to that authentic center, traditionally and constitutionally, okay, we're really not going to be able to make much progress politically.
No, I completely agree, and I think that's and I've given you credit for this on other shows, but I want to bring this up again. You were the first person, I think, to use the phrasing that I've now heard you use with Trump multiple times, stating that he is probably going to be, if he is elected president, more of a transitional president rather than a transformational president. And the more I think about it, even if it's not Trump, I think that is the direction at this point we kind of need to go. Because there's not going to be any way that we're going to get everything that we want all at once. Not with as far left as we've gone. And that was everybody's argument in 2012, is let's get Romney in there because he understands the economy. He'll be able to start working on fixing what's broken. No, he's not my ideal choice either, but he's better than Obama. And he would have been better than Obama. The only thing that actually I think worked out well, because unfortunately, with the fact that even under Obama, the stock market has gone completely crazy and done the whole roller coaster bit, but still been several thousand points higher than it was in the beginning. I think if Romney were president, that would have gone an entirely different direction, because Obama's been being praised for the stock market doing well, while the rest of us are struggling to pay our bills. But Romney would have been absolutely vilified over it, because it would have been another example of a rich guy helping to get his friends even richer. So that has to be one of the things that honestly concerns me about Trump, because, I mean, the media is going to eviscerate him, and everybody talks about how well he takes it when people attack him. Honestly, he doesn't. He's one of the most visceral people that I've ever seen when he gets attacked. And it's almost a carbon copy of what we have going on with Obama right now, but just for different reasons. And I don't... That's honestly one of my biggest things with Trump. But the thing about it is, right now, I think we do need a candidate who may not be everything that we need them to be, but at least understands enough that will understand that we have to start moving things back at least towards the right. I mean, look, I'm a conservative. I tell everybody I'm a conservative all day long, all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you really want to get down to it, unless you're talking about the crazy leftist loon socialists, the truth is usually somewhere in the middle, because if you get rid of the extremes on both sides, those of us that consider ourselves middle-of-the-road Americans have more in common with the folks in D.C. or with ourselves than we're ever going to have with the folks that are in D.C. But the thing about it is, we keep letting ourselves get so galvanized by the fringe movements that we're not paying attention to the fact that we all basically kind of want the same things. And we're seeing that outplayed over and over again, even in today's news. And just one last point, because I hadn't been able to bring it up. The news the other day made this big deal about Obama smacking down the Keystone Pipeline. They had the folks that had proposed the Keystone Pipeline to this administration had been trying to withdraw the proposition for months. The administration told them no for the express purpose of they wanted to make a public spectacle out of telling them no, which is retarded. And it's not just that. It was one of those things where everybody's like, oh, look, Obama's finally doing something that he said he was going to do, and he's standing up for the environment. No, that's not why he did that. It wasn't to make you tree-hugging hippies happy. It was because now he gets to look like the good guy in your eyes, which is all he's ever cared about. But it's just that it's another instance of reality and the distortion that has now become reality, becoming everybody's reality. Because anybody who's been paying attention to that story knows that for months, the folks that proposed the pipeline had said, look, let's just table it for now, we'll come back to it later. And the administration refused to allow them to withdraw their petition up until such time as Obama felt it was necessary to smack them down in public.
Well, as I say in the article, Fantasy and Reality, it's kabuki theater, a show, a dance, a fantasy. It's politics on steroids. And as I also say in the article, the emergence of a populist, America-centric technocrat such as Trump doesn't mean that the progressive movement is over. It's still going on. Look, I love Ted Cruz. And if I thought that there could be a Trump-Cruz ticket, let's think of it as kind of a hybrid, because instead of either or, let's just say that's kind of a hybrid. I think there are a lot of constitutional lessons that Mr. Trump could learn from Ted Cruz. I think there's a lot of economic lessons and life lessons that Cruz could learn from Trump. So I guess if Trump was in there for 8 years and then Cruz had a shot at being president for 8 years after Trump, if we could link that 16 years together, it might really be good for the country. It might even save the country. The big factor, the unknown, is what I mentioned earlier. We have the foreign policy so screwed up that no one knows what's going to happen. And when I say no one knows, it's worse than ever before. The unknown is dicier than it has been probably since 1980. So whether it's another 9/11 type of attack or another economic collapse, any president that gets in there, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, anything could happen. Obama has this completely messed up, and this is from doing what you just said, from being a completely politicized character. For gosh sakes, they have a party that runs around all day talking about the collective, and at the same time, they divide people up into little groups. That doesn't make any sense. You're talking about a group of people that are schizophrenic, and I mean, I'm sorry to say it, they're just not right in their minds as far as I'm concerned.
Well, honestly, after seeing what they've done to the country for nearly the last 8 years, I would have to agree with you. And I know I have friends that are liberals right now that are probably throwing something at their radio or their phone or however they choose to listen.
Well, gee, I hope so.
But I mean, it's just the truth of it, though. The simple fact of the matter is that there's obviously something wrong with these people. To think that the things that they're doing are okay. To think that, I mean, and let's just be completely real for a second. This actually happens on both sides. It's kind of like if you flash back to the Nixon administration and everything that went on with Nixon, now with everything that's going on with Hillary, when the Democrats were the ones going after Nixon, Nixon was the devil incarnate, and most of the Republicans were like, "Hey, it's not that big a deal." Now the shoe's on the other foot, and granted, it's a much larger shoe, and it's basically the whole Watergate tape thing's on steroids. But the same thing's happening now. One side's trying to mitigate it, and the other one's out for blood. And the simple fact of the matter is we need to remember that it doesn't matter whether there's a D or an R behind your name. If you do something wrong, you deserve to be held accountable for it. It really is pretty much just that simple. And we're losing track of that. And it's evident all over this administration that we're losing track of that. Because, again, going back to this most recent thing with the Keystone Pipeline, he could have tabled it. He could have said, hey, you know, let's do this. Let's save it for another time. But no, I'm not doing this. This isn't going to happen. And it's no different than the most recent thing that he's now starting to puff out his chest when it comes to Gitmo, that before he leaves office, he's going to make sure it's closed, and he's going to make sure that goes before Congress, and if they don't do it, he's going to do what he always does and passes an executive order. You know, one of the first things that I would really love to see a president do is completely remove the ability to do executive orders. And I know that's naive, and it's never going to happen because there are some good things that are done by executive order. But it's gotten to the point now where the bad so much outweighs the good, I don't think it's a power anybody needs anymore.
Well, we need to rely more on our Constitution and the laws that we have. I mean, think about this. This is Veterans Day, and as I say in common sense, each American owes every second of their American life to our founders and to the way that our Constitution is structured. The other thing we owe every second of our American life to is our veterans that have fought overseas and in America for our freedoms. And now you have a president, as I watched him lay that wreath today. I've never seen him at one military ceremony or anything honoring veterans where he comes off as genuine or not looking like he really wishes he was somewhere else. And we're kind of, that in combination with an electorate where we're kind of a victim of our own success, and then we have this siren song of socialism calling people where we've had a lot of success and we're in the land of stuff now. Instead of working for the stuff, maybe they'll just give me the stuff. I mean, it's really, really screwed up, Rick. And if we don't think about our defense, who came before us, who fought for it. I mean, I don't think my dad he operated a cannon on a Coast Guard ship in World War II. He was in the invasion of Leyte. He passed away a while back, but I don't think that him, or I don't think the guys that hit the beaches of Normandy thought that they were fighting for this kind of atmosphere that you were just talking about. I think they thought they were fighting for a different kind of America. And I wish that we could just go back to those basics, because things are out of hand. And Keystone is a perfect example. It's the environmentally friendly way to transport that oil. And we have millions and millions of miles of pipelines under the United States right now. It didn't mean anything other than a great avenue to get it to refineries in the Gulf and into the South, and hopefully reduce our dependence on other foreign oils. Even though it's not the same kind of quality oil, it is something we can refine. And if Trump gets in there, one of the first things he'll do is he'll take the ban off that we've had since 1970 from us exporting certain kinds of crudes. We can export refined oils, but we can't export crude. We don't export natural gas. We ought to be the direct pipeline for Europe for energy, not Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, you would think. And, back to that Keystone Pipeline thing for a second, because doing some research into that, here's the thing that nobody on the other side of the argument is talking about. Those folks in Canada, they're still selling it. Now they're just going to probably sell it to China. So the oil is still going to be produced. It's still going to be shipped. It still now runs an even greater risk of being an environmental detriment to somewhere, because China doesn't have near the standards that we do. But hey, let's all take a victory lap, because the environmentalists have won the day, at least according to them. But if you really look at the reasons why Obama did it, it had less to do with them and more to do with the fact that he's now starting to become extremely concerned with his legacy, especially now that the Affordable Care Act is being slowly proven to be anything but. But at this point, we are about out of time, so why don't you go ahead and take the last couple of minutes of the show, remind folks where it is they can find you, where your book's at, and all the pertinent information should they choose to interact with you, sir.
Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at Fornari Sense. You can read, I probably have 15 columns on this internet newspaper, the Magic City Morning Star. That you can read my columns there. You can follow me on Facebook. And the book itself, Commoner Sense, The Working Person's Guide to America, is very easy to get on Amazon. You can download it as an ebook or get a paperback sent to you very very quickly.
All right, folks, well, that's going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. Again, I am your host, Rick Robinson. Should you choose to interact with me, there are multiple ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at double_R_OKC. You can hit me up on Facebook on my professional page at www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. You can shoot me an email one of two ways, either rick@k98talk.org or ricky at thesparkradionetwork.com, both of which come to me. So there are multiple ways to interact with me. I want to thank again my guest Patrick Fornari, who's become kind of a recurring guest around here. Hopefully we can keep that coming. And don't forget, this show is live every Monday through Friday at 11 Eastern, 10 p.m. Central now. Yes, folks, that has taken some adjustment. I went from primetime drive to late night. But this is going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. I will be back with you live tomorrow, and then, of course, Friday to wrap up the week. Again, thanks for hanging out, Patrick. It's been a blast. We have got to get out of here. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man. It's game over.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor. Period. If you like your health care plan.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.